We are talking about an extraordinary report that is following a documentary that's been filmed with the royal family, which will air just after Christmas, about the lengths the royal family went to ensure that Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II could end her days in her beloved home in Balmoral. We also still want to hear from you on 0344 499 1000. Joining me now is TalkTV's royal correspondent, Rupert Bell. Rupert, thank you for joining us this afternoon. This documentary, I'm guessing, is going to be a must-watch for all ardent royalists like me. What have we learnt from it?
Well, what we've learned is that right to the very end, the Queen was putting her country before herself. But as we're hearing in sort of the bits that are coming out ahead, and obviously an interview that was done with the Princess Royal, is that the family were adamant that the Queen should stay at Balmoral, a place that she absolutely adored. We know that she was struggling throughout with her mobility issues throughout that her final year of her life. That's why we saw her on so few occasions. But Balmoral was clearly her happy place, and the family felt it was right that she should stay there, even though she was concerned of the implications when she died, what it might mean. Well, actually, I have to say, one of the most poignant images throughout the period of following her death was that drive from Balmoral to Edinburgh, with the crowds that just got bigger and bigger on a glorious Scottish day. Actually, for many, it surprised people, and it really then sort of set the wheels in motion for this outpouring of affection for her over that 10-day period. And the Princess Royal, she bore her grief so stoically, as we would expect, and she is very much the rock of that family by her sort of no-nonsense approach. But clearly the family put the Queen's, they thought, her personal considerations above what the Queen felt she needed to do for the state.
And of course, she had a lifetime of selfless devotion to our nation. We were very, very lucky to have her. And in her final few days, she said goodbye to Boris Johnson and welcomed in a new Prime Minister. So she was working right up until the very end, wasn't she?
Yes, and the last photograph was of her meeting Liz Truss as she embarked on her very short tenure as Prime Minister. But it did show that she wanted to do her duty right to the end. She realised that her role there at this constitutional moment of a Prime Minister coming to pledge allegiance and very symbolic sort of part of the state ritual for the monarchy. But there she goes to Balmoral, and then, of course, I think it was almost less than 48 hours later, the Queen sadly passed away. But we knew she was struggling. But it showed her keenness to try and make sure that she fulfilled the important roles of state. And clearly, that is one of them, of greeting a new Prime Minister.
And Rupert, I understand that the Princess Royal is the only senior royal to have given an in-person interview to this hugely fascinating documentary. Do we know why that is?
I wouldn't know. I couldn't say why, but I don't tend to sort of overdo it, the royals. So, you know, they take the less is more philosophy. But let's be honest, Princess Royal played an integral part in that. And very much, you're never going to get something from the king. But actually, what she does reveal about the sort of moving on to the king now taking over his role, however long he'd been waiting, it was never going to be easy for him, but offering her unswavering support. And I think they just felt that it was important that one member gave her view. And remember, she was the only royal member who was at Balmoral. The others had to get there fairly quickly. The king and queen had to come from their they were away, not at Balmoral, and others obviously had to get there as well. And clearly there was a bit of fallout with the Meghan and Harry situation, but the Princess Royal was there, and so she was very much the key member of the family in that initial period of the loss of the Queen.
And of course, our King, King Charles, succeeded to the monarchy as soon as our former Queen, Elizabeth II, died. He was thrown straight immediately into royal duties. I know because I was a member of the cabinet at the time. He flew immediately to London and met with his government. I had the privilege of meeting him just a few hours after he had lost his mother. That speed at which he took up those royal duties as a grieving son, like any of us would be, having lost our mother, does show how dedicated this family is to serving Great Britain.
Well, in a way, there are you have to put at times the sort of the family side of it, the personal grief, because there are constitutional elements to the succession, and that is probably one of them. And as you know, so the importance of that and where he went around various corners of the United Kingdom in that initial period before her funeral. So it's all very symbolic, but clearly the grieving period, it is difficult. And you saw at times how emotional he was when making his addresses and doing the various sort of functions that he had to fulfill or state occasions he had to fulfill in that period. So it was a demanding time for all of them. But that's the way the monarchy works. It moves very quickly into the new era. It may sound brutal, but in this case, it sounds the Queen is dead, long live the King. That is what is said, almost. And the world moves on in terms of the Constitution. But clearly, you do have to think of the family aspect when it comes to this as well. And that's why you have to admire their fortitude during that period.
And of course, as brutal as it may be, absolutely constitutionally correct. And he was showing, not just on that occasion when I met him, where the first thing he did was crack a joke. I can tell you that he said to me in his first royal audience with his cabinet that we weren't going to have him very long because he was much older than his mother. I sincerely hope he is absolutely wrong about that and we will have him for decades to come. But he's also been cracking a few jokes this week in relation to his sausage fingers.
Well, yes, because obviously they're much photographed and occasionally lampooned, but there is going to be in this documentary about the coronation the moment when he was doing elements of the ceremony, he's sort of having a joke with his son about his sausage fingers. He's actually made jokes in other circumstances, so he is aware, which is actually a good sign. And we're seeing once or twice this week with the fact that Mike Tyndall letting slip that. We've got 1 Pint Willie in terms of the Prince of Wales, and so that the royal family do have a sense of humour. They love a joke, but obviously it's quite hard for them at times to be sort of going out there cracking jokes because obviously there are serious elements to what they're doing. But I can assure you that the king is aware of these sausage fingers as he makes a joke about it, and all the better for it, because if he can be self-deprecating, people will certainly, I think, warm to him as a result.
People will love him all the more. On that 1 Pint Willie, do you think that's a moniker that will stick to our future monarch, the Prince of Wales? If you think about it, we've had Richard the Lionheart, William the Conqueror. 1 Pint Willie doesn't quite have the same ring about it, does it?
No, not really, but I think it might be the sort of a few wags shouting that out. I don't know whether he's going to Aston Villa tonight, but if he does, I'm sure his fellow Villa fans might be sort of raising a glass to him. But whatever, I think it's a bit of fun as well. But I think it won't go away, but he won't be known as the Richard the Lionheart, or when it comes to his time, he won't be known as King William 1 Pint. No. So I think we can leave it at there, but it's a bit of fun.
Thank you, Rupert. Maybe he'll become William the Conqueror once again.